Hello, hello, my friends. We are approaching the end of the month of April. Goodness gracious, my kids are going to be out of school soon enough. The weather's warming up, and it means that it is time for me to share with you empties number 2 for this month. So, a few months ago, well, I would say actually probably maybe almost a year ago now, I decided to try to start sharing my empties with you twice a month because truthfully, I go through a lot of candles every month, and sitting down and sharing with you like 25 candles was honestly pretty time pretty time intensive, I would say, time consuming. And so I decided, you know what? Let me go ahead and split this up if I can remember to do it twice a month. Now, in the month of March, I didn't have as many empties that I finished up. Earlier this month, I believe I shared 12 candle empties, and funny enough, I actually have another 12 to share with you guys today. So if you like this video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing to my channel if you are new around here. Hi, I'm Katie. I love to talk all things candles here on my channel. I do empties like this, I do hauls, dedicated reviews, and a lot of fun candle content in between. And the other thing that I did want to just touch on really quickly here at the beginning of the video is that at the end of the empties, once I've shown you everything, how do I put this? There are some things that I would like to address. We just need to sit down and have a little bit of a chat. You know, like when you get that like in a text, like, hey, we need to talk, everybody gets nervous. Nothing to be nervous about. There are just some things that I wanted to clarify at the end of this video, but I will put that again at the end. So that way, those of you who are just here for the empties, you only got to stick around for that. So as always, all of the candles that I talk about today will be listed down below with timestamps. I'm losing my voice because of allergies. And what else? If I have any affiliate discount codes, those can be found down below as well. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the 12 candles that I have already finished burning for the second half of this month. Let's go ahead and start out with one that's right in front of me. This is a Cringle Candle Reserve candle. This is Sweet Geometry. Now, I actually don't have the fragrance notes in front of me. Every time I say, oh, I'm going to get the fragrance notes, Cringle, sometimes it throws me off because they did start to put their fragrance notes on the bottom of their packaging. But if you have older packaging, it doesn't have it on there. So, you know, sometimes I just assume, oh, I'll be able to read the notes on the bottom. And then I get an older one like this was poured in 2023 and it's not on there. So fragrance, I don't have the fragrance notes on this, but I will tell you, I don't typically like cherry fragrances. Let's just put that out there. This to me is kind of like a, maybe a little bit of like a cherry sorbet type of fragrance. I think I like this because I detect some kind of like citrusy elements mixed in with this. I smell a little bit of like orange, maybe some lemon tied in. There's something about this that's got a little bit of like a creamy consistency to it. I really, really liked this fragrance. Would I repurchase it right now? Do I feel like I need this in my collection? No. However, I will tell you that if I did not have a YouTube channel, that's always something I feel like candles I categorize as like, if I didn't have a YouTube channel where I was trying to focus all the time on new products to review, would I repurchase this candle? The answer for this one is actually yes. But is it so unique, and is it something that I just feel like I need and I want to allocate burn time to it instead of new stuff all the time? No. I don't know if that helps you make a determination of how I feel about this candle. I like this candle. Would repurchase it if I didn't need to prioritize new stuff, but I don't see myself repurchasing it anytime soon. Nice fragrance. Strength and throw on it was, I would say, between a 6 and a 7. It wasn't a powerhouse for me towards the end, but this one mixed pretty well with a lot of other fragrances that I have currently been burning this month, like my beloved Lemon Sugar Marshmallow, which last week I told you guys in the candle chat that I had put the 2024 version that had the bad wicks. I put that in my candle crock in my daughter's bedroom. You guys, that thing's been going now for almost 2 weeks. I was thinking that it was going to be in this empties, but it's not. It's still going strong in there. So you'll probably see it in the next round of empties. But this Sweet Geometry paired really nicely with that. Speaking of candles, though, that I would repurchase over and over again because it's just one of my favorite fragrances, and I will probably, until I get sick of it, carve out space to go ahead and burn it. This is Cringle Candles Ice Cream Sandwiches. Now, this was part of the 2024 spring and summer lineup. This does have the fragrance notes on the bottom: rainbow sprinkles, sea salt, macadamia nuts, ice cream, ruby chocolate, cotton candy, vanilla milkshake, toasted coconut, tonka bean. So we've got a bunch of gourmands and the kitchen sink thrown at us there for fragrance notes. Oh my gosh, this fragrance. This, I will tell you, is very different than the caramel sundaes ice cream sandwiches, which reminds me of like those store-bought ones that it's like a Neapolitan and you've got that chocolate wafer. That's not what this is. This fragrance, I have it in another 3-wick and I also have it in a full-size 2-wick. The label on the 2-wick, I feel like embodies what this fragrance is a little bit more. To my nose, I get toasted coconut, I get macadamia, I get the creaminess of ice cream, I get some chocolate in there, I get the sprinkles. This is so, I would say it's like a hard fragrance to describe, but not really. If you are a gourmand lover, get this. It is so good. Its performance was really good too. This one in the 3-wick was about a 9 in terms of strength and throw in my home. I love, love, love. My favorite combo pairing this with is with their the 2-wick of Bananas Foster. I love that combination. It's just so summery and yummy and decadent. It's a little bit of a different twist on like some of your traditional summer gourmands. But I loved this fragrance. Again, I already have a 3-wick of it in backup. I have a 2-wick of it, and eventually when I burn through all of those, I will purchase it in a 4-wick because I love that fragrance so much. The candle that I was actually burning alongside the ice cream sandwiches, I did burn a little bit of my Bananas Foster, but the other candle that I burned with it was this Caramel Sundaes Banana Cream Pie. Now you can see we've got some soot here at the top of the rim. I have talked about how this is a byproduct of the vessel design. In fact, you're going to see another vessel that has a similar design from a different brand that also does this. If you are kind of a little bit newer to burning candles, this design is there so that way any kind of soot that is accumulating from the wicks gets caught here instead of getting on your walls. So that's just kind of a design feature of these vessels. Banana Cream Pie. Aren't you proud of me, you guys? I remembered to go ahead and get the fragrance notes on it. Banana Cream Pie had fragrance notes of top notes of caramel, coconut, banana, mid notes of whipped cream and cherry sugar, and a base note of baked crust. Now, here's the thing, you guys. This candle for me was a little bit light. In fact, the first 2 burns on this one, very, very, very weak strength and throw for me. I did decide to go ahead and actually, no, back it up. 3rd burn, I could start to smell it a little bit more, but it was still only, I would say, maybe about a 4 in terms of strength and throw. I had it in my master bedroom, which again is a little bit more closed concept, and I could smell it there. But what I decided to do moving forward from there was I did go ahead and pop it into a Hurricane. And with a Hurricane, I would say the top strength on this was probably about a 6. This candle would not be a repurchase for me just because, one, I didn't feel like the strength and throw was where I wanted it to be. But also, the fragrance on it, I don't think I really loved the crust note on this. There was something about it that maybe it was a little bit like too buttery for me mixed with the banana. I don't know. I just feel like there's other banana gourmand fragrances that I love. And you guys know I love the Caramel Sundaes brand. But this one wasn't really it for me. So yeah, this candle would not be a repurchase for me. Let's go ahead and talk about another Cringle candle that I did finish burning. This is Garden Fresh. Now, this candle was sent to me in PR by Cringle. And up until now, you guys, I wanted to clarify that all of the other candles I've talked about so far were purchased with my own money, but this one was sent to me in PR. Now, Garden Fresh, this has fragrance notes of floral, green, herbal, rhubarb, musk, and green. And you can see this one got a little bit sooty as well. Again, once the candles get a little bit lower, sometimes you can see, you know, a little bit of soot around the rim on this. This candle is very unique. I did a dedicated post-burn review on this. I actually did a dedicated post-burn review on most of these. The Banana Cream Pie, I don't have one, but I feel like all of the other candles that I'm talking about today, I do. This candle to me is it's a tomato plant. It smells like a tomato plant. There's a little bit of rhubarb in there though. That note is listed, and I do get kind of a like a fruity density to it, a little bit of sweetness to it because of that rhubarb. I like it. This was a great candle. I tell you what, I loved burning this anytime after I had cooked dinner because I felt like this was a great palate cleanser. It went along nicely, especially if you were cooking like an Italian meal or anything like that. Really, really complemented the fragrances or the natural fragrance that comes from cooking. It was great to kind of, cleanse everything out of the air afterwards. I really, really like this fragrance. Is it going to be a repurchase for me? No, not anytime soon. Again, I'm always focusing on the new stuff. This kind of falls in that same category as Sweet Geometry, although I think I enjoyed Sweet Geometry just a tad more than this. But this is definitely a unique fragrance. I know tomato fragrances are like all the rage right now. Strength and throw on this one was pretty good, anywhere between a 7 and an 8 for me. Definitely was noticeable here within the open concept, but performed quite well for me. Let's talk about another Cringle candle that was sent to me in PR. This is Spanish Moss. Now, this fragrance has fragrance notes of moss, floral, aromatic, wood, patchouli, and musk. Now, typically we see Cringle do moss fragrances in a lot of their Halloween lineup because the moss candles tend to have a little bit of earthiness and dirtiness to them, and I mean that in the best way. But I will say this one I think was actually, it was good for the springtime. And I also could see this fragrance being a great scent as we are transitioning out of summer into fall, because there is a green element to this. There's something that smells, a beautiful balance of, there's a vibrancy of like new plant growth, I would say. But it sounds funny. There's like it smells almost like wet dirt in some ways, but in like a good way, like after the rain or something, like you have like fresh garden soil or something like that. I really like this fragrance a lot. Again, do I need to repurchase it? No. But this was a really nice pairing. I feel like fragrances like this pair really nicely with maybe like brighter fragrances like the one I'm going to talk about next. But strength and throw on this one was pretty decent for me too. I would give it about a 7 in terms of strength and throw. It was nice. All of these, I would say the majority of these 2025 spring and summer collection candles from Cringle have been performing quite well for me. I'm trying to think back. I've done dedicated reviews on all of them, so I'm trying to think back. But none of these really had like a drop off in terms of performance. Like once I got past the halfway mark, they all seem to be pretty consistent. The fragrance that I was enjoying pairing this with is the Easter Petals. Now, I'm not sure if this one is still in stock. I know last week they had a 50% off of the Easter candles. I don't know. I haven't checked on the website if if the Easter candles are still 50% off or if they went back to full price. I know that Cringle right now, speaking of the Garden Fresh and Spanish Moss, those are included right now. Cringle is running a buy one, get one free on all of their large and medium-sized vessels, and I believe that's crossed over onto Country Candle as well. So they're marketing it as a Mother's Day sale. So I feel like the sale might be going on for a couple of weeks, but this would be a great time if you've had your eye on any of these newer releases. It would be a great time to pick them up because they're essentially 50% off when you purchase 2 of them. But getting back to Easter Petals, this has fragrance notes of sparkling lemon, petitgrain twigs, Italian bergamot, neroli blossom, patchouli musks, and amber. And we know Cringle in this spring they've kind of had a little bit of an obsession with bergamot and neroli, and this candle kind of fits right in there. This fragrance to me, it pairs really nicely with that Spanish moss. It also pairs really nicely with that bunnies and flowers because that bunnies and flowers also had some moss notes in it with the neroli. This is a brighter version. There's nothing earthy or damp about this fragrance. This is like orange neroli blossoms. So it's a floral, but there's a sweetness in here and a brightness that's lent from the opening note of that sparkling lemon. It's kind of like a zesty floral, I guess. Very, very nice. If you are somebody who typically likes orange blossom fragrances, you will like this scent. It's very nice. Now, the one thing I will say is that the strength and throw on this, I wanted it to be a little bit stronger. I would give this one, it settled like around a 6, I would say, in terms of strength and throw for me. There were pockets where I got a little bit better strength, which is typical for 100% soy wax. That's been my typical experience with it. But oh, I love this scent, even with the speckled jar. Now, here's the thing, you guys. I actually almost ordered another one of these when they were 50% off, but I stopped myself. I will have a Cringle haul for you guys probably within the next 2 weeks here. I did purchase a backup of an Easter candle. You guys can all probably guess which one it was. And I actually went ahead and purchased another 4-wick. But I don't know, you guys. If I see this one come back for 50% off, I might be tempted to purchase it again because even though I wanted it to be stronger, this is just such a beautiful, totally in my lane type of fragrance for this time of year. Another Cringle candle, this is actually a reserve scent that came out a few weeks ago. And funny enough, I didn't see myself finishing this one as quickly as I did, but this is the fragrance Lemon Splash. Fragrance notes of lemon, citrus zest, sparkling aldehydes, citrus, green, and sugar. And okay, this is one of those fragrances that like grew on me. The more that I burned it, the more I really, really enjoyed it. This to me reminded me of when I was growing up. My grandpa had a lemon tree in his backyard, and I already told this story, but in case you missed it, I would go out, we would pick the lemons fresh off of the tree, go in, cut them, and put them into our ice water or ice lemonade. And this to me just brings back that memory. This to me smells like a freshly picked lemon that you just cut right into and you put it in your water. I would say for some people, this might venture on the border of like cleaner lemon. This is not gourmand lemon. This is not your sugared lemonade type of lemon, which I will talk about that in just a moment. But this is definitely like a fresh lemon, but there's the aldehyde note in here gives it a little bit of like, there's some wateriness to it, as weird as that sounds. I really liked this fragrance. And let me tell you guys, this was one of those candles that I feel like the strength of it was about a 7. And I think that was perfect because anything stronger might have been a little bit too much, but the throw was quite good on this. This projected it at like an 8. I could definitely smell it all throughout the open concept. And this fragrance just paired so nicely with a lot of other candles that I was burning this month, which is why I think I went through it so quickly. It burned nicely with Easter Petals. It also burned really nicely with the fresh bergamot. I'm trying to look at other candles here that I burned it with Sweet Geometry. I could even pair it with some of like my lilacs, as weird as that sounds. It was a really, really nice fragrance. This is one of those candles that is actually going to be on my radar to possibly repurchase at some point. If I ever see these reserve candles go on like their like random once a year, occasionally they'll mark some of them 30% off. If this is one of the fragrances that makes it, I could see myself repurchasing this. I don't love this fragrance as much as the Reserve Orange scent. That's probably my favorite Reserve citrus scent, but this is probably second place. I actually do really, really like this fragrance and would contemplate repurchasing it again. All right, let's switch things up a little bit. Let's talk about a Bath & Body Works candle that I finished burning. This is the fragrance Sugared Jasmine. I did do a dedicated review on this, oh goodness, probably 2 months ago now. Fragrance notes of jasmine petals, caramel drizzle, and sea salt. And I'm going to tell you guys, I feel like those fragrance notes are a little bit off on this one because this candle, I get jasmine. It's a very like sweet jasmine, but I don't smell caramel in here. There's nothing like gourmand. When I see caramel, I think of gourmand, and I don't really smell anything gourmand about this. Now, this fragrance, I liked it. Would it be a repurchase? No. It's slightly perfumey. It's kind of a perfumey floral to my nose. Definitely jasmine, but like a sweet jasmine. This pairs really nicely with a lot of coconut scents. I burn this alongside, is it warm vanilla coconut? There's a coconut fragrance from HOMEWORX that I actually am probably going to do a review on next week. That fragrance is really nice. But like if you have any of those, I could see this pairing nicely with, what's the other one? There's a vanilla one from Bath and Body Works. I think it's a repackage of the Vanilla Coconut Surf. Is it just called Vanilla Coconut? I could see this pairing nicely with that fragrance. I don't even know if this is still in stock or if it'll be around maybe for SAS, which is coming up soon enough. But yeah, it was a nice fragrance. It was just okay. Typical for a lot of my Bath and Body Works candles. I did have to dump the wax halfway through because it was getting those really slow, puny wicks, which was then, of course, affecting the wax pool and getting a little bit sooty. And then, you know, it was a slow burner, I would say, after that halfway mark. Even after I tried to correct it, it still kind of slowly burned. So I did go ahead and relegate it outside because I don't like those slow, sooty burns. So, yeah, not going to be a repurchase for me, but I'm glad that I tried it out. It was a fragrance that kind of took me by surprise when I went in store to sniff, and I decided that I liked it. Okay, let's do some shuffling around here. What else have I already talked about here? Oh, let's talk about this HOMEWORX candle. I did a dedicated review on this earlier this week. This is Hyde Park Lilac from HOMEWORX. We have fragrance notes of spring lilac blossoms, daylily, iris petals, and violet leaf. And I was really glad that I filmed this review prior to Easter Sunday because I actually, we hosted a lot of people and the weather was perfect and beautiful. And we have a covered patio. And so I actually had I had fresh lilac, I had lilac and lily, both from Cringle, burning in the house. And there's another candle I'm going to show you guys that I had burning in my kitchen. And then this one I went ahead and placed outside on our on the table outside and finished burning this. So again, Hyde Park Lilac. So if you caught my review this week, you guys will know that this is a nice lilac fragrance. If I did not already have fresh lilac and lily in my back pocket from Cringle as my pretty much my number one lilac combo, I would repurchase this candle. But because I already have those two and those have a little bit more sentimental fragrance notes to me, I don't see myself running out to buy backups of this candle. Now, I will say this is definitely a lilac forward candle. This one has a little bit of greenness mixed in with it. There are some, you get a little bit of lily in here, not as much lily as in the lilac and lily from Cringle, iris petals. But this one, I would say that this fragrance, the violet leaf is what I smell more. There's a little bit more greenness to this candle. Whereas in my dedicated review, I said that fragrances like Yankees Lilac Blossoms and what's the other one? The Bath and Body Works, they're fresh cut lilacs. To me, they have a little bit more of a powdery accord that my nose detects, and I don't particularly love that. So this one's like kind of in the middle. Strength and throw on this was also pretty good. The throw was pretty good on this one. I would give it between a 7 and an 8 for me. For whatever reason, you guys, I'm looking over here. That quilt rack thing, you would not believe it, but I have found that is like the little fragrance vortex of my open concept. I used to burn, well, I'm burning today, what am I burning over there? The Tangerine Palazzo from the winter collection, the collab that Harry Slatkin did with Elton John. I bought it in a luxe size, and so I'm afraid to put my luxe candle on that quilt rack because it's like in the wall. So if I'm burning a bigger candle, I'll burn it over here. And that one's burning fine there. But it's funny, I'm finding that little spot, the candles are just wanting to throw like beasts from that spot. So been pretty happy with that. So there's your reminder that if you have a candle that is not throwing for you well in one area of a room, move it to a different location and see if that'll help. Sometimes candles just dead out and they're not good, but sometimes you just need to move them around and you can really discover a new spot. All right, while we are on the topic of lilacs, let's talk about Lilac Macaron from Country Candle. This was sent to me in PR. Fragrance notes of lilac, pastry, sweet, vanilla, raspberry, and sugar. So this one, again, as I was mentioning earlier with that Caramel Sundays banana cream pie, how when it gets that indentation, you're going to catch some soot. Same thing happened with this candle. This candle really didn't have any soot until I let this one just burn out on the last day that I burned it. Now, this fragrance is not going to be a repackage for me. This, I feel like, was probably a big disappointment for a lot of people, including yours truly here. I know where they were going, trying to probably incorporate a floral mixed with a gourmand. I feel like that's kind of a thing right now that people are trying to do. But this one, I feel like it missed the mark. To me, this came across powdery. It came across slightly soapy. Yeah, it wasn't there for me. Is there lilac note in there? Yes. I detect some of the raspberry in here, but again, there's a powdery accord in here that's trying to mix with that like pastry note, and it's just not hitting right for me. I didn't love it. Strength and throw on this one was initially it wasn't a good. No, was it a good performer? Yes, initially it was. I remember the first burn, I tried burning it with fresh lilac and lily, and that ended up being a huge mistake. I hated the way that it combined, and I could smell it because it was burning in my bedroom, and I could smell it coming out of the bedroom, and I was like, I don't like that combo. Almost decluttered it right after that. I'm glad I stuck with it, but this is not going to be a repurchase for me. Strength and throw on this one was around a 7. Overall, because again, soy wax can sometimes have some inconsistencies depending on where you're at in the vessel. But yeah, that's not going to be a repurchase for me. Another fragrance that I think a lot of people will really, really enjoy and is a great alternative. This is Grandma's Lemonade from Cringle Candle. Now, this was part of they kind of surprised all of us with 19 labeled 3-wicks that they dropped at the same time as their most recent reserve drop, which was, I want to say it was back around like the first week of April. Fragrance notes on Grandma's Lemonade are lemon juice, pineapple, and vanilla sugar. Now, I did do a dedicated review on this candle earlier this week. And this candle, I will tell you guys, if you are a fan of Bath & Body Works Limoncello or their sugared lemonade fragrance, but maybe you're not happy with the way Bath & Body Works candles are performing for you lately, this is going to be a great alternative. I do believe that these candles are still part of the 3 for $33 bundle. So if you're purchasing 3 candles, they're $11 each. That's not bad at all. I would recommend this candle if you like sugary lemonade fragrances. It's definitely lemon forward. It's not cleaner. You definitely get a lot of sugar in with this, but there's no other like bakery elements or whatnot with this. It's a different fragrance from Lemon Sugar Marshmallow. Lemon Sugar Marshmallow to me, I feel like is more like a lemon bar, where they've kind of got that like shortbread bottom and then the lemon curd in there. That's what Lemon Sugar Marshmallow smells like to me. This is definitely like lemonade. Very good. This was a strong performer for me. Solid 8, 9 in terms of strength and throw. Did really, really well out here in the open concept. Was actually almost too strong for me in closed concept. And I would like to report that this one, I did burn it in a hurricane, and I also burned it out of a hurricane. You can see the wicks stayed in place. We all have been talking about how that has been one of the issues with the Cringle 3-wicks, that sometimes their wicks displace as you get closer to the bottom of the burn because maybe the wax just gets too hot for that glue. But so far on this candle, the wicks stayed in place. So that was pretty impressive. But I would give 2 thumbs up to that Grandma's Lemonade if it is a fragrance that is within your little realm. And then let's see, I've talked about all of them, and we're going to go ahead and finish up with this. You guys, I cannot even believe I burned this entire candle in less than a month. This is Caramel Sundays Bakery on Maine. You guys, this is a 40-ounce candle. I burned it in like less than a month. I can't even believe I did that. So this fragrance, I did do a dedicated review on this. We have talked about how this is kind of Caramel Sunday's flagship fragrance. It is the one that they are most known for. I would say to my nose, if you want a comparison, it's not a dupe. It's not the exact same, but if you happen to like Bath & Body Works Vanilla Bean, this is a fragrance that you would enjoy. It's very much in that profile. I do get a little bit more of a vanilla cupcake vibe from this, but the like vanilla buttercream is also in this candle. This is just a beautiful scent. This is the other fragrance that I was burning on Easter Sunday. I did finish burning it. I had it burning on my kitchen table. And of course we had a bunch of friends over and they were coming in and out. And every time they walked in the kitchen, they were like, oh my goodness, it smells so good in here. It did. It smelled fabulous. Now, if you caught my dedicated review or if you've watched my journey with this candle, initially it started out pretty light for me. And I thought, okay, I was like, okay, that's kind of a bummer. I guess this is going to be like all other vanilla fragrances. They don't perform well in my open concept. I relegated it to my master bedroom, but on the third burn, I started to notice that it was pretty strong in my master bedroom. And I was like, let me go ahead and move it out here again. Moved it out here again. And sure enough, it was throwing like an 8. It was beautiful. I could smell it all throughout, and I was shocked because I don't have that experience with vanilla fragrances. Now, I have seen some other reviewers review this in the 2-wick format, and they were saying they weren't getting that great of strength and throw. You guys all know vanilla fragrances are very difficult to make strong without compromising the fragrance profile that they are trying to put together for that specific candle. So I will say that the first review I did for Caramel Sundays was their Whoville Bakery, which, if I'm recalling correctly, had very similar fragrance notes to this. And I remembered saying that it was pretty light for me too. So yeah, do I recommend this fragrance? Absolutely. But I would say that if you have an open concept, Caramel Sundays is going to start restocking more, or in their monthly restocks. In fact, they released their May restock this week. They are going to start pouring more in these big 4-wicks because I think more people are demanding them, especially if you have an open concept. I do find that these 4-wicks perform the best in my home. So yes, would highly recommend this fragrance, at least in the 4-wick. I can't speak to the strength and throw of the 2-wick, but yeah, I am just shocked that I burned that fragrance so quickly, but also not, because that vanilla fragrance is now my #1 scent, and it just pairs so nicely with a variety of other candles. And yeah, I burned through it quickly, and you'll see the vessel itself is still pretty clean. So I feel like this is a good segue then for the little chat that I wanted to have with all of you guys. So speaking of Caramel Sundays, I know that this is a brand that I have been excited about over the last couple of months. And I wanted to share some things, because I know I have been part of what I would say would be the hype train in spreading the news about this brand. I know that there's been other content creators over on Instagram that have been talking about them for a while. I mean, they have a decent sized following over there too. So they've built their business. They've been around for about 5 years, I think, or whatnot. But I feel like I might have been one of the, I don't want to say one of the first, but among a lot of the people that I follow here on YouTube, I wasn't seeing anybody else really talk about this brand. And, anytime that there's a quote unquote new brand that comes on the scene that other creators start talking about as well, there's always going to be those who love a brand, and then there's going to be some who try it and say, yeah, it's not really working out for me. And I did notice that there were a couple of reviews or videos that came out last week where people were saying that, yeah, the brand is just not for them, which honestly, you guys, that's their prerogative. It's their channels. It's their honest experiences. And that's totally fine for people to share that information. But I will say that one of the things that I will say that I went into the comment section of one of the videos, and I just wanted to address some things, because I felt like there were some comments being made in there that I internalized them a little bit too much, and kind of took them as possibly a shot at me, or maybe some of my other creators. So I just wanted to address a couple of things, mainly 2 things. One, the big thing that I have said repeatedly over and over: Caramel Sundays does not send PR, nor do they do sponsored videos. You guys, I've never done a sponsored video on my channel. I have never been paid to do a video. And quite truthfully, I'm not sure that I ever really would, just because from what I know from other content creators in different niches, they have said that when you do sponsored videos, you start to give up control of your channel, because the brands become very, not controlling, that's not the right word, but maybe about like what they want you to say, and you kind of lose some of your creativity in those videos. So I'm not sure I would ever even really do sponsored videos. However, when I do receive PR, I do have affiliations with 2 candle brands, which are Slatkin & Co. and Cringle. But I hope you guys know, when you've been here with when you come to my channel, if I received a candle in PR, I will always let you guys know. In fact, if you've watched any of my dedicated candle reviews, not only do I let you know usually within those first 30 seconds, hey, this candle was sent to me in PR, I check off that little paid promotion box, which I actually really don't have to check that off because it's not technically a sponsored video, but I check that off just to let you guys know, hey, I'm reviewing a product that I did not pay for. I feel like that is the honest thing, and that is the transparent thing. And so anytime that I'm talking about candles that I've received in PR, I will let you guys know. I did see some comments that there were saying like, oh, they're probably getting sent these things for free and they're not disclosing it. And I just want to put it out there, like, when it comes to me, and again, because I know the brand well enough now to know that they don't send PR, this would apply to everybody else, but I'm just speaking for me. If I receive something in PR, I'm going to tell you guys, and the track record I've already shown you on my channel would say that. So why would I disclose that I received candles for free from HOMEWORX or Cringle, but then not tell you guys that I received something free from another brand. So I wanted to put that out there. The second thing that I think I wanted to really address a little bit more, and maybe it's just something that like I think we all need to be mindful of. I touched on it a little bit in the White Lotus review that I did earlier this week. I know not everybody catches the dedicated reviews, and if you weren't interested in that candle, you probably didn't hear this, but I touched on it and said I would expand on it a little bit more. So here I am. I did notice there were some comments that were saying on this particular video, thank you for being honest about this brand. Thank you for being honest about this. And again, me internalizing things a little bit more, I was like, well, I'm being honest too. But it dawned on me that I was like, you know what? I think what it is that I think sometimes we forget when we are watching reviews or we are watching some of these content creators, sometimes we need to make sure that the reviewers' preferences are in line with ours. And what do I mean by that? That doesn't mean that I'm saying like if a reviewer has different candle preferences, which I'm going to expand upon what I mean by that you shouldn't be watching them or anything, because quite frankly, I watch a lot of other candle reviewers and candle content creators that I just watch. We don't like the same fragrances. We don't like the same things, but I watch them just to support them because I kind of like them as human beings. What I mean by that is when we are looking to a reviewer or multiple reviewers for whether or not a candle would be worth us purchasing, we need to know what are their priorities in their candle burning experience or in their home fragrance experience. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Obviously, we always know like, okay, that person loves their gourmands, or they love fresh laundry scents, or they like more typically masculine or smoky or whatever. Okay, we can know a reviewer's fragrance preferences, but let's go a little bit step further. Let's look at the environment that they live in. Do they live in a dry climate? Do they live in a humid climate? We're coming into a time of year, you guys. I live in a very, very dry climate. I live in Arizona, for those of you who might be new. It's dry here most of the year. Even in the summertime, it's bone dry. It's hotter than Hades, but it's bone dry. It's an absolute oven. Those of you who live in areas, maybe the South or the Midwest or the Northeast, you guys get a lot more humidity than we do. And we know that humidity can impact how a candle might throw. On the flip side, my home is going to be air conditioned, probably starting in about another 6 weeks. I've got 6 more weeks left before I've got to turn the AC on, and that air conditioning is not going off until late October, probably. So air conditioning can affect strength and throw. Okay, so we're looking at the climate. We look at what are their wax preferences. Anybody, you watch people, they'll let you know, I like paraffin wax, I like soy wax, I like a soy paraffin blend. It doesn't take very long of watching any reviewer to kind of start figuring out what things they gravitate towards. Are they concerned about clean ingredients? Are they, or is price point their number one thing? I know I watch some people that are like, I have a price point that I will pay for this brand of candles, or just in general, this is what my home fragrance budget is, and I'm not paying any more for that. So I feel like all of those things, you need to take into account when you are listening to the opinion of a reviewer, and then see, are those my same priorities? Because that can give you a little bit better idea about whether maybe a new brand, or even just if you've been watching them for a while, if a candle would be a good fit for you. So I felt like this would be a good opportunity for me to just be very, very clear. And I think, again, if you've been watching me for a while, you're going to know where my preferences lie, but let me just put it out there for you guys. So that way, if you're newer to my channel, or even if you've been watching me for a long time and you watch my reviews, this is where I stand. This is where I'm coming from. Okay. Number one priority for me in burning a lot of my candles, I prefer 100% soy wax. Just being honest with you guys, I like a clean burn. And that comes from, I've talked about, I don't like soot on my walls. My mindset is, if there's a bunch of soot on my walls, what is getting into my lungs? Again, let's go back to, I've got to keep my windows closed for 5 months of the year. Literally, you guys, we don't open our windows in the summertime. It's so hot. We cannot do it. So I have to be thinking about the air quality inside of my home. All candles are going to give off some level of soot. I get that. I have been asked, do you do wax melts or anything like that? Personally, no, I don't. I find them to be a little bit too they're too much for me to deal with. And I like being able to change out my fragrance throughout the day, which is what candles allow me to do. So anyways, soot, that's a big thing to me. I like clean burning candles. That is a big priority to me. Next to that, I would say that something that has become a little bit more important to me because of the sheer amount of candles that I am burning, again, having a YouTube channel, is I have to be honest with you guys and say, again, the amount of candles that I burn, I cannot ignore the studies that are starting to trickle out that are raising some questions about the ingredients that are in a lot of big box candles, meaning like VOCs and possible things that could they possibly be carcinogens. My mother died of cancer, and I know we're all going to die at some point, right? We can't live our lives being fearful of everything, but also, I have 3 kids, a cat, a husband, myself. There's also some language out there or some research or some studies that are being done about possible endocrine disruptors. And I'm just going to be really real with you guys. I've got 2 teenagers, a preteen, and I'm 40 and on the doorstep of perimenopause. We do not need anything else disrupting hormones in this family. So to me, while I'm not full bore, like I'm going to only buy that, I would be lying if I said that that's not a little bit of a concern to me. So for me personally, I know that the trade-off for that is that, yeah, the price point on the candles, if I want to continue burning home fragrance the way that I do, I'm probably going to be spending a little bit more money for it. Just like if you were to choose in your, let's be honest, there's a lot of trade-offs in this. If you were to choose to start eating all organic, you're going to pay a higher price for your groceries, or maybe you're going to be buying meat from a local rancher. You're going to be paying a higher price for that. Or let's even just take it out of food. I don't know, like if you just even want to start supporting small businesses, let's be honest, supporting small businesses costs more money than supporting bigger corporations. So anyways, that's something that I wanted to put there as well. Fragrance preferences, another one that I forgot to touch on in that list. I don't want to be smacked in the face with fragrance. Now, do I like my fragrance to be detectable? Obviously, that's why I purchase it. But I have a lot of people in my life who are very sensitive to fragrance. They get allergies, they get headaches, and I don't want people coming into my home and being like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to ask Katie to blow out her candle because that candle is just so strong it's giving me a headache. I don't ever want people to feel like that when they come into my home. So anyways, those are some of my preferences. And I think that that's maybe where, instead of thinking that like, oh, a reviewer is not being honest when they said that this candle was an 8, but I only think that it's a 5. Remember, reviewing candles is already a very subjective thing in general, but maybe just go with it more of the mindset of like, if you are somebody who likes fragrances that smack you in the face, and maybe you like more of a soy paraffin blend type of candle, maybe look at it more so instead of saying, okay, Katie said that this fragrance was an 8, but I know her preferences, and maybe an 8 to her is probably more so like a 5 or 6 to me. I feel like that would maybe help all of us. And this is the mindset, again, that I use when I'm watching other content creators. I feel like that kind of helps us when we are deciding to purchase candles based off of people's reviews. So I did just want to put that out there. You will see definitely, because now knowing that about me, that is why I tend to talk a lot about Cringle and now Caramel Sundays, because I like their wax formula. They're working well for me in my home. HOMEWORX is in between. They're hit or miss. And it's also the same reason why you may not be seeing a ton of Bath & Body Works and Goose Creek on my channel, especially if you're newer here. I did attempt to purchase Goose Creek last year, and I had mixed experience. I had some candles that burned well for me, some not so much, but I ended up, I don't purchase Goose Creek anymore because something in their wax formula or the fragrance oils that they use irritates my sinuses. I started making a correlation that my sinuses were just not having it. And so unfortunately, I had to not purchase from them anymore. And then Bath & Body Works, I've been honest with you guys in saying I've just had so many burn issues with them over the last 6 months. I've purchased over 30 candles from them, and I would say over 20 of them either ended up in my candle crock, which I don't like using, or I end up having to do like what I did with that sugar jasmine, have to pour some wax out. The wax gets sooty, having to babysit. Now, for some people, they say, oh, I only spent $9 or $10 on it. It's fine. I can go and do that. But for me personally, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I would rather go get one caramel sundaes or Cringle candle for the price that I would spend on 3 candles, but then know that I don't have to babysit the wicks and wax and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, that's why you don't really see a ton of Bath & Body Works on my channel. Now, if things change with them, I would definitely be open to purchasing from them again. I'm not swearing off Bath & Body Works. And truth be told, you guys, I know I've peeled back the curtain a little bit on this, but just to let you guys know, the highest viewing videos on my channel are Bath & Body Works candles. So me not purchasing them a ton is actually somewhat detrimental to the growth of my channel. But again, it's my channel. I'm talking about what I like and what I want to share with you. So that's my little spiel that I wanted to talk about here at the end. Just keep in mind, you guys, we might have a difference of opinion. We might have different preferences, and you know, and I want to say, if price point is your number one priority, if strength and throw is your number one priority, if you don't care what's in the chemicals, that is your prerogative. And I'm not saying that none of us are lesser than for that. It's just different. We just have different prerogatives, I guess, when it comes to our home fragrance. So I think I made myself clear, but I was a little bit nervous to share that with you guys but I also felt like it needed to be shared and you guys needed to hear it from my heart. I thought about typing something out and I just thought, no, go ahead and just speak from your heart and share it with everybody so that way you can hear my voice on that. So anyways, you guys, getting back to the empties, let me know if you have purchased any of these candles or what your burn experience has been with any of them. I'm always curious to hear what you think about. I know that our local florist, she's going to be really happy when I have all of these vessels to give to her. She really, the last time I brought her one of these Easter candles, she was like, oh my goodness. She's like, I have flowers that'll go perfectly with that display. So that's what I do with my empties jars. I do empty them out and give them to a local florist. But stay tuned, you guys. I hope this weekend to have my Caramel Sundays April restock haul up for you guys. If you're curious to see what I purchased, if you follow Caramel Sundays on Instagram, they did post a reel where they were packing somebody's order. That might give you a little hint as to that's kind of fun. I started watching that and I was like, that looks familiar. That looks familiar. I was like, wait a minute. This looks like my order. And sure enough, it was. So if you're curious to see, you can check that out. But I will make sure to give you guys all of my first sniff impressions or cold sniff impressions. And then next week, I will have more dedicated reviews for you, as well as my candle collection update. And I am still working on my, what do we want to call it? Like the untouchables. That's what I'm going to call it. The untouchables for spring and summer. Those are fragrances that are my absolute favorites. I would be very upset if I could never get a fragrance like it again. So again, please hit thumbs up if you liked this video. Consider subscribing to my channel if you're new. I probably lost some subscribers on my little rant at the end, but oh well, I am who I am. And I guess those of you who stick around, you're going to be my tribe. So all right, you guys, I do want to say thank you so very, very much for spending your time here with me today. And until my next one, I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day. Bye.